All right, hello everybody. KVU Chief Meteorologist Hunter Williams here with our nightly YouTube Live KVU Plus extended update on the forecast. Our coldest weather of this Arctic blast and very likely of this entire winter is now behind us, but that does not mean we are completely out of the woods with regards to wintry precipitation. We are still tracking a chance for some light icing Friday evening into Friday night into Saturday morning. Now, to be clear, I know we've had some big ice storms here over the past couple of years. I do not expect a repeat of what happened in January 2023. Nothing even remotely close to that. But I do think some light icing, a couple hundredths of an inch, maybe up around a tenth of an inch for some spots will be possible. And that's enough to create a couple of slick spots, not on every single road, but maybe on some of the elevated bridges and overpasses. That type of icing is a possibility. So with that, let's get into the details of our forecast. We have issued a weather impact alert. This will start at 5 p.m. tomorrow, so 5 p.m. on Friday, and it continues through noon on Saturday. I think that's the stretch where we'll have that overlap of both temperatures that are at or below freezing and precipitation. We're going to have some more precipitation later Saturday afternoon and then again Saturday night into Sunday, but temperatures will be above freezing, so that will be just plain rain. Again, it's light freezing rain, light freezing drizzle, and minor ice potential that we are watching. So I think the main need right now, this isn't going to have like crippling travel impacts. It's not going to affect, trees and power and stuff like that. But be mindful of elevated bridges and elevated roads, overpasses, stuff like that. Y'all know those are the spots that always freeze up the earliest. The timing, though, fortunately, this is not something that's happening during the week. Again, we'll have to watch the roads Friday evening, but then Saturday morning, we don't have school. Most folks are off work, so hopefully we're able to stay off the roads until things can get warmed up above freezing. All right, we'll circle back to that here in a moment. Here's a live view as we record this on this Thursday evening. Almanac today. We said it would be the coldest night of the winter, and it was. 18 degrees this morning at Austin Camp Mabry. That is easily a daily record, and I said this on our newscast. You never want to be breaking cold weather records from February 2021, but we did that today. 19 was the low at the airport. The high today, Mabry only got to 35. The airport was slightly warmer at 36, so that cloud cover came in and it locked in the cold weather. By the way, look at the record warm temperature today, 97. Honestly, that sounds kind of nice right about now. Here are the low temperatures area-wide. Giddings dropped down to 19 this morning. 17 in Taylor, Georgetown dropped to 15, Burnett 15, Llano and Fredericksburg 14 degrees. We had wind chills, at least briefly, in spots that did drop down below zero. It was dangerous cold, and look, still we're very cold. And in any other forecast pattern, we'd be talking about how significant tonight's cold is, but based on how cold we've been, honestly, it's a pretty big improvement that we have in the forecast tonight. All right, so we're watching temperatures carefully. How cold our temperatures drop tonight is very relevant to what our winter weather threat looks like, because I just don't think there's going to be a lot of warming through the day tomorrow now that we have the cloud cover. So we'll see how cold we get tonight. We're at 33 now at Mabry, but we're above freezing. We're at 34 out at the airport. With the cloud cover tonight, it's just not going to be quite as cold, but I still think many spots in the metro are able to get down into the upper 20s. I mean, already Cedar Park, it's 32, Hutto's 33, Round Rock's at 32, 34 at the airport, 34 for Oak Hill, Lakeway, it's 33 right now. It really didn't get above freezing today over parts of Blanco County into Gillespie County. This is where the cloud shield came in earlier, so it's still sitting at 32 there. I'm looking for the warmest number, and it looks like that's LaGrange at only 36. Burnett's at 32. Llano is at 34. Thank goodness this wind is finally dying down a little bit, only sustained at 3 right now in Austin, gusting to 13 in Bastrop, but there's a little bit of a wind chill going on in some spots that's dropping the feels like back down to the 20s. So here's the satellite radar. A little tough to see now that we don't have the visible satellites, so we're using the infrared, but you can see where this cloud deck, it came in earlier today. Now it's over us, and it's going to stay over us. So again, it's going to be cloudy and cold with temperatures barely budging through the day tomorrow. While we've gotten through the coldest of the cold, we're not done with the cold entirely. We don't have an extreme cold warning tonight, but we do have a cold weather advisory. This kicks in at 9 p.m. this evening, goes through 9 a.m. on Friday. Again, air temperatures as cold as I would say, low to mid 20s in parts of the hill country tonight, and wind chills that could be down in the teens, maybe the low teens at times. So here's my forecast tonight. I have 29 in the forecast in Austin. Some of these numbers in the hill country we'll watch. Again, now that the cloud cover has moved in, It's going to be cold tonight, but those are just not the same ideal conditions as if we had a clear sky for temperatures to drop. So we'll see how low these numbers get in the hill country. I think at least mid-20s are possible, but maybe some low 20s. Upper 20s, even some low 30s as you get into areas east of I-35. Closer look at the Metro and I-35 corridor. Again, this temperature forecast is important because for tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, it is a situation where a couple of degrees is going to matter. Light drizzle in 33. Not fun to be outside, but all good, no icing. Light drizzle in 32 or 31 or 30 or 29. That's when you start to run into problems, obviously. So again, this is our forecast tonight. We'll watch to see how any of these trends will go, not because it's going to feel any different on your skin, but because it's important to our freezing rain and our ice risk as we get into the evening tomorrow. Minimum wind chills overnight into tomorrow morning. Again, any other forecast pattern, I'd be saying this is serious stuff, and it is, but it's just a huge improvement over where we've been. These wind chills are going to be like 20 degrees warmer than what we had the past 2 nights. Minimum wind chills, low 20s along and east of I-35. Still some wind chills that are going to be in the teens in the hill country. Again, that is why we have that cold weather advisory for tonight into tomorrow morning. Tomorrow, temperatures just will not move very much. We're going to be cloudy, upper 20s, low 30s in the morning. And then as we go into the afternoon, I've got 33 in the forecast. I was tempted to just go 32. If we get above freezing, it's going to be brief, for like an hour or two, then dropping back down into the evening. Most of the day is dry. I say that. We're going to need to watch this whole time frame for if any drizzle develops early. Again, that's not what we have in the forecast, but I'm just trying to be transparent here. This has been just kind of a pain to forecast. The cloud cover today came in earlier than expected, so even that cloud cover starts kind of the process to getting the atmosphere a little bit saturated. So that's going to be kind of what's happening initially as precip develops. Late afternoon and the evening tomorrow, you can see those chances start to go up. The air in place now, it's obviously cold, very dry. So some saturation is going to have to occur to get some precipitation or steadier precipitation falling. So we'll see how early in the day that process begins. Some models have said maybe even in the morning there's a little bit of drizzle. I'll go into the data here in a second, but there's just a lot of stuff that we're going to need to keep an eye on. But I think generally later in the day is when the precipitation chances start to get a little bit higher. Here's the forecast area-wide tomorrow. Honestly, I think these numbers are probably too warm. This is pulling off of our ICAST data. I think it's going to be lucky, especially in the hill country, to get above freezing. I think those numbers are too warm. Again, for Austin, I've got us at like 33. Okay, so here's the model data, which, again, these are the model data numbers. I think this has a better grasp on what the temperatures are going to look like. Okay, so here is 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Mid to upper 20s, some low 20s in the hill country. Upper 20s, low 30s in the Metro and I-35 corridor. Maybe slightly above freezing as you get into the coastal plains. It's cloudy, it's cold. Okay, so did you see that? That was our model, that little flash of pink there, trying to show maybe a little bit of drizzle early in the day. We've got to watch that. Again, I don't think we're going to have much precipitation because of this dry air early in the day, but we're going to watch that. Here's 3 o'clock. It's 32 in Austin. Northern I-35 corridor, all below freezing into the hill country. Not much above at just a degree or two as you go to the coastal plains at 3. So now we go into the evening. And here we go, by 9 or 10 o'clock, what's happening is a coastal low develops down in the Gulf, so that's going to start to throw some precipitation, some steadier precipitation into our very cold air mass. And at that point, it's 30 in Austin, upper 20s, low 30s, below freezing in the hill country. Even like Lockhart, Luling, 31, 32, and we'll watch some of these numbers in the coastal plains. But I think as we go through the evening tomorrow, we're going to start to get an idea of how this is going to unfold, as this initially is very light drizzle, very light freezing rain, freezing mist, not too different than what happened the other night behind the cold front. I know we didn't exactly have that in the forecast, but that's kind of an example of how this could begin. We get this very light drizzle, this very light mist, and that kind of starts the icing process, especially on elevated surfaces and elevated roads. Then we keep going into the overnight and into Saturday morning, and precip chances are going to start to ramp up. Now you see this, it's not terribly widespread, right? Especially the kind of steadier stuff. But with this drizzle, when we look at the drizzle on the radar, it doesn't show up well. Well, it kind of works the same way in the models, right? Even though it's showing dry here, could there be some drizzle? Could there be some drizzle here? Yes. So this is not going to be terribly heavy precipitation. It's going to be drizzle. It's going to be light rain showers likely. So here's Saturday, 4 a.m. We keep going into 10 a.m. And at that point, temperatures are starting to warm up. So conservatively, our weather impact alert starts at 5 Friday and it goes to noon Saturday. Again, that's conservative. It could be, as this model is showing, that by 10 we're above freezing. And look, we're going to have some rain showers as we get into the afternoon, and that's miserable, not fun weather in the mid to upper 30s, but that's not going to cause icing issues. So, and any ongoing icing issues would go away. So it's only the first part of the day on Saturday. Then this is not winter stuff, but now models are showing another round of rain and maybe a few storms coming in for Saturday night into Sunday. So, yep, keep your head on a swivel, this type of forecast. And then as we go into Sunday, finally this mess is going to pull out. And late Sunday into Monday and all of next week, our weather's looking much, much better, at least if you like the warm weather. Okay, so here's one model's take on how much ice could accumulate. Again, model data, subject to change, all the normal disclaimers, but I think this has a pretty good idea. This graph model, it did very well, not very well, but it did the best, I would say, of all the models with our snow and grapple event back in January. And it tends to handle these kind of winter setups pretty good, pretty well. So here is, again, just a couple hundredths of an inch of ice accumulation. So kind of take what happened behind the front with that freezing drizzle and maybe add a little bit more to that, and that's kind of what we're looking at. Again, I'm not trying to oversell this or scare anybody, and it's possible that many spots could go through and not have any ice accumulation at all. That's just fine with me. There's just not a ton of heavy precipitation when temperatures are at or below freezing, but this drizzle, this mist, this light rain, it adds up if it happens over a long enough period of time. So this type of icing, you'll see it like a thin glaze of ice on your car, a little hard to open up the door handle. Metal street signs, stuff like that, a little light icing in the trees, on the grass, on the bushes, maybe a little bit on the sidewalk. That's what you start to see. Most of the roads would still be, completely fine, but those elevated bridges that ice up first, some of those could be problematic. And then this will watch. I am seeing some signs in the data that as you go Hayes County, then down south of our area, maybe there could be a zone where the precipit's a little steadier and you get up 1/10 of an inch, maybe a little north of 1/10 of an inch, and that's when the impacts start to get a little bit more pronounced. So I think we'll probably have a better idea of this either later tonight or tomorrow if there's going to be a corridor of enhanced impacts or if it's just going to be all this super light stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that potential. I know freezing rain is kind of confusing. It's odd, if you would have told me 5 or 6 years ago when I first got here to KVU that many of the big events you'd forecast would be freezing rain events, I would say you're crazy. But it has kind of ended up that way. So we know, based on doing this several times over the past several years, that ice accumulation is a little bit difficult to understand. Like, okay, well, what does 5/100ths of an inch of ice mean? So here's kind of the breakdown. Again, I think the vast majority of us will be less than 1/10 of an inch, but kind of starting around 1/10 of an inch or a little bit less. That's when, again, cars get coated a little bit. Bridges, elevated roads get icy a little bit, a little thin ice on trees and grass. I think this is kind of the ballpark of the stuff that we're expecting. When you start getting up more than 1/4 of an inch, again, which is not what we have in the forecast, but say things escalated a little bit, that's when trees start to sag or break, roads become icy, scattered power outages. Then when you get a 1/2 inch plus, this is what happened in 2023. I think we ended up with 0.66 inches of freezing rain in Austin. That's when you get like crippling widespread tree damage, roads, all of them hazardous, widespread power outages. Again, I think we're kind of in this ballpark. In some areas might not see much icing at all. So not a huge deal. Not trying to scare people, but light freezing rain and drizzle is going to be possible Friday evening through Friday night into the morning of Saturday, at least into the early morning hours. Very light icing under 1/10 of an inch will be possible, maybe up around 1/10 of an inch, especially over parts of Hayes County. The main impact is this. Other than, you see a little bit of light ice on cars and trees and stuff, the main impact is this. You just need to be mindful of the elevated roads. Just keep a close eye on that. So tonight, cloudy sky. Not quite as cold, but it's still cold. 29 degrees for the overnight low temperature. Again, I'm going to watch that. If it ends up not being 29 and 26, that has implications down the line. Any other night, I would say if I get within 2 to 3 degrees of the low temperature, that's a pretty good forecast, but it's just, this is a forecast where a couple degrees matters. Likewise, again, you see the implication for tomorrow. I've got 33 in the forecast. If that 33 is 31, then again, things are a little bit different. So cloudy and cold tomorrow, we'll say 33 for the forecast. Most of the day is dry, but then as we go to the late day, late afternoon, evening, a 30% chance for freezing rain and drizzle that starts to develop. Just showed you that graphic. So now let's go to the 7-day forecast. We do have a weather impact alert. So 29 tomorrow, 33 in the afternoon. Freezing rain potential late Friday into early Saturday. Then we're going to have some more rain around for Saturday afternoon, but it will be just plain rain. Temperature warms up into the upper 30s, I think, by the end of the day. Then we actually continue to warm, so I know that looks a little weird. 39 for the high Saturday, 39 for the low Sunday. I think we actually warm up as we go through Saturday night into Sunday with a round of showers and maybe a few downpours or storms, non-severe storms coming through. Sunday afternoon, we'll clear things out. That forecast for Sunday has trended a little cooler now that more rain is involved. So I don't think we're going to be quite, to the extent of the warmth that a lot of us are probably hoping for by Sunday afternoon, but it will be better. 59 for the afternoon high. Then that's more like it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. Temperatures will be way up in the 70s, maybe even close to 80 for some spots, and that is going to feel fantastic. So that is our extended update on the forecast. I will leave you with that. We'll have another update coming up on KVU with our newscast at 10, obviously. Then the game plan for tomorrow. Obviously, we'll see how things unfold. Jordan will do a live update in the morning here on KVU Plus and on YouTube, and anywhere where you're watching this, you'll be able to see more live updates. And then tomorrow, once things get started, we'll get kind of our normal KVU Plus live, like looping coverage going. We'll have some cold weather content in there. We'll have some live radar. I'll be doing live updates, obviously, a lot of forecast, some other kind of stuff like, freezing rain, fun facts and stuff involving freezing rain. We're going to have a lot of coverage going on tomorrow if and when things start to ramp up a little bit. So we'll keep you updated on this forecast. By the way, if you want more frequent updates outside of just the video updates, you can follow me here on any of my social medias, Hunt_WX, or just search my name on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And we keep frequent updates coming to the extent that I can. All right, so that's it. Y'all have a good night. We will see you for KVU News tonight at 10 o'clock.